Good morning, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, morning, Nitesh.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone. And on behalf of the management at Meenakshi College, I welcome you all to our third session of our webinar series. The title of the session today is An Insight into HVAC, and the speaker for our session today is Mr. Senthil Thangam. Before I start, I'll just need to give out a few pointers so that we make sure that we follow them throughout the entire session. That will, like last week, make sure that your videos and audios are completely turned off during the entire duration of the session. In case any participant has any queries related to HVAC and the presentation, you could directly send us a text message to the organizers or myself, and we will take the questions in the end in the Q&A session. Let me introduce you to the speaker of the day today, Mr. Senthil Thangam. He's the All India Commercial Air Conditioning Division. He's the Senior Manager at the All India Head for Commercial Air Conditioning Division with 25 years of experience in the field of HVAC. Mr. Thangam has joined Blue Star as a trainee engineer and handled various positions like sales manager, area manager, regional manager, product manager, all India sales head before handling this current portfolio. Mr. Thangam's area of expertise lies in sales and marketing, product management, channel management, operations management, training and development, key account management, strategic development, and project management. Mr. Thangam has played a key role in development of commercial air conditioning products, fifth generation VRF, configured screw chillers, and inverter ducted series in Blue Star. Mr. Thangam has been awarded the Manager of the Year in 2009 and Senior Manager of the Year in 2019. He's also published various technical articles in Construction World, Architects and Interiors India, Construction Week, Cooling India, and Hotelier. He's also an active member of the Indian Society of Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineers. It's a pleasure to have you present to us, sir, and we welcome you to our session.
Thank you, Nitesh.
Thank you.
So,
We can start.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think it.
Yeah. So, good morning. Good morning. It gives me great pleasure to address the students and the faculty of the Meenakshi College of Engineering, School of Architecture. Before we start the presentation, we have a small AV. Kumareshan, can we just play the AV?
Yeah.
Kumareshan, AV audio is not there. Kumareshan, audio is not there.
Pardon?
Audio is not there. Audio. Hi, audio is there. You can play from it. Good morning, everyone. Once again, warm welcome to the students of the Meenakshi College of Engineering on behalf of Blue Star. Today, we are going to see some very basic insights of HVAC, basically air conditioning. We will try to see whether we can cover in 45 minutes to 1 hour's time. It will be extremely difficult to do that, but we will certainly try to make it very precise, concise, and minimize it in 1 hour's time. You will also understand why it is very significant to understand about air conditioning, especially in the COVID pandemic scenario, because air conditioning is very crucial. Air conditioning can play a very, very crucial part in controlling the COVID. Okay, so we will also have a very small module explaining how this air conditioning can play a very, very vital role in controlling COVID, since it's a very interesting and a much relevant topic in today's context. Right, so let's start the session. Kumreshan, we can start the presentation. Can you just play the presentation, please? Yeah, so we will begin with let us see what is really air conditioning today. We will define what is air conditioning. Now let us take a scenario where you are driving in a car in the middle of the day, extremely hot and extremely humid, and you will really feel very, very sultry, right? It will make you extremely uncomfortable. So this is one of the scenarios which you will witness very, very often in today's context, too warm. Now let us take a rainy season where it is November, December in Chennai, and then it will be raining and pouring heavily outside. Even though the temperature may be comfortable, you will still not be feeling comfortable. You may be sweating. The reason is when it is raining, you will see the humidity levels going up very, very high. Now, when the humidity levels are going very, very high, then you will start feeling sultry. So that will also make you definitely very, very uncomfortable. So the second scenario is basically high humidity. First we saw very high, kind of this one. Second is very high humidity and being very, very cold. Now the third thing is you will be probably having a lot of apartments close to the roads, close to the busy roads. You will have too much of pollutions, too much of smokes coming out, and when you inhale too much of polluted air, that also will make you very, very uncomfortable. So there are many things which makes one uncomfortable: very hot, very cold, highly humid, and also high amount of pollution. So these are the various factors which makes anyone uncomfortable. Now we have seen about the rains also, right? When it rains, how it becomes, and it really becomes very moist, and it will become too humid, and you will start feeling very, very sultry, right? So what is air conditioning? Air conditioning is nothing but a simultaneous process. It's a simultaneous process of controlling temperature, controlling humidity, controlling the pollution, all in one shot by inducing adequate quantum of fresh air. So once again, I will repeat, air conditioning is a simultaneous process of controlling temperature, controlling humidity, controlling the cleanliness inside the room, and maintaining adequate quantum of fresh air. So that is what is called air conditioning. Now, maintaining temperature means what? It has to maintain a pretty constant temperature. That means a temperature of somewhere around 24 degrees or 96 degrees Fahrenheit. So that is the universal comfort temperature. So air conditioning, a place is air conditioned means it will maintain a temperature of 76 degrees Fahrenheit or 24 degrees centigrade. Then it maintains certain amount of humidity. So what is that humidity? Humidity is nothing but it will maintain around 40 to 60%. So if it is less humid, it will raise the humidity levels. During rainy season, it will bring down the humidity. So it will maintain the humidity of 40 to 60%. It will filter the air. That means it will filter the air close to the tune of 20 microns. So that is the level of filtration. So even if there are some pollutions, if there are some pollutants outside, it will basically control that pollution levels inside. And it will also inject the adequate quantum of pressure inside to maintain adequate quantity of oxygen. So in short, once again, I'm repeating, air conditioning is a simultaneous process of controlling temperature, controlling humidity, controlling the filtration levels, and maintaining the adequate quantum of fresh air. So this is the first essential important basic definition which we need to know about air conditioning. Now let us understand why we need air conditioning, other than this comfort what we see. There are many things why we require air conditioning. Now let us take a large applications like airports or malls or restaurants you can see, or cinema theaters. You see plenty of people inside, and then you will have lot of quantum of stale air which will be circulated inside. Now if you take a restaurant, you have lot of food particles getting served, so that smell will be circulating. There will be some sort of stale air which will be circulating. So you have lot of people also. When you have lot of people sitting in one zone like a cinema theater or like a hall, or you take a small industry, for example, industry where you have lot of machineries, control panels, each will generate a lot of heat, right? So that heat also will make people highly uncomfortable. So you have stuffiness due to people, stuffiness due to machineries. Then of course you have IT kind of applications where we have plenty of people, the loads which are there due to the humans. There are loads which are due to the computers. And when so many people are sitting around so closely, you will have a lot of uncomfort kind of a feeling. So this air conditioning induces the adequate amount of fresh air. It induces the air at the right temperature. It induces the air at the right humidity. Now let us take the hospitals. Now hospitals is again a very crucial application for air conditioning, because you have a lot of patients there. You have a lot of patients who are undergoing kind of treatments. Now generally the patients need a comfortable temperature if they have to recover fast. So you need to maintain the right temperature of 24, 23 degrees centigrade for the patients to recover very quickly. And also you do lot of operations in the hospitals. You need to remove the contaminated air frequently and throughout, and then induce the right amount of fresh air. Just imagine, without air conditioning, a hospital cannot survive, because it is very crucial to remove the contaminated air and then inject the fresh air frequently. Otherwise, there are very high chances of the infection getting transmitted from one person to another person in a hospital. So very crucial to have the right air conditioning systems in a hospital kind of application. So you have seen, so air conditioning plays a very important role in various applications, be it a large malls, be it airports, be it hospitals, be it industries, or be it IT facilities. It is very important that air conditioning makes people comfortable, makes certain processes in manufacturing ideal, makes certain applications like hospitals highly comfortable for treatments. So air conditioning is very important in many applications, right? Now let us quickly look at comfort zone. We have seen what is a comfort zone. The comfort zone is basically to make the humans very comfortable. So there are many studies which are conducted across the world. India is a very tropical country compared to many of the developed foreign nations, where the climatic conditions are very comfortable. But India is a tropical country where the climate is very hot. very, very humid in most of the places. We all know we are in Chennai. We know how the temperature is. It is very hot and very humid. And many cities are like that. Mumbai, Calcutta, which are also similar to Chennai, very hot and very, very humid. Then we have some central parts, like Pune, Bangalore, Guwahati, which are reasonably comfortable compared to places like Chennai. Then you also have some interior parts which are very, very dry, and at the same time very, very hot. The examples can be Delhi, the examples can be Nagpur. So you will have various kinds of climatic situations in India, but you need to maintain one common temperature which is very ideal for human beings, for the ideal for the health of the human beings. It is very, very important. So I already mentioned to you the right temperature, for any HVAC systems in any place in the country. It can be anywhere. It can be even a Jammu and Kashmir where the temperature can be very, very cold, or it can be Chennai where it can be very, very hot. You need to maintain one temperature which is very, very comfortable for human beings. That temperature is 24 degree centigrade or 76 degree Fahrenheit. So you cannot just go and switch on a fridge and then put your face inside to get the comfort, or you can go to a oven and then get yourself hot in case if you are in a place like Kashmir. So you need an air conditioning system which will maintain a very comfortable temperature for the human beings wherever you are, whichever city you are. And American Society of Heating, Refrigeration and Air Conditioning Engineers have done extensive study, and they have stipulated global standard. This standard is not only for India, but anywhere across the world. This is a very, very important comfort conditions which architects and interior designers must keep in mind. Whenever you design any air conditioning for your projects, you need to have this in mind. 24 degrees centigrade, that is the right temperature. If it is winter, maybe you have to work for a temperature of 20 to 23. And if it is summer, when we know that temperature is 40 plus, you need to maintain between 22 to 26. But one common comfort temperature is 24 degrees centigrade or 76 degree Fahrenheit. This is what I think you should keep in mind. And also the humidity levels, very important, because 40 to 60% is very important, not only for comfort. I will tell you why towards the end of this module also. It is very important to control pandemic kind of scenarios by maintaining the relative humidity. So RH of 40 to 60%, temperature at 24 degrees centigrade, these are called the comfort conditions. So when you design any projects as architects and interior designers, always keep in mind whether you are developing a project which is having the air conditioning design, taking care of these two important parameters, a temperature of 24 degrees and a RH of 40 to 60%. By default, most of the air conditioning systems when you buy will have a setting of 76 degree Fahrenheit, right? So now let us quickly look at some of the very important basic types of air conditioning systems, right? A very, very simple air conditioning system which all of you would have seen in your day-to-day life is the window air conditioners. Now in a window air conditioners, in any air conditioning systems, Kumaran, can you just go to that basic components of air conditioners? Quickly we will touch that before we go to the types of air conditioners. Yeah. So before we go into types of air conditioners, we all need to know some fundamentals. As engineers, as architects, compared to others, you need to know some basic fundamentals. What are the key components in air conditioners? There are 4 important key components in any air conditioner. It can be a simple window air conditioner to a very complex centrifugal chillers. Any type of air conditioner will need to have minimum 4 important components. One is compressor, second is the condenser, the third one is the evaporator, the fourth one is the expansion device. So all air conditioning systems will have these 4 important components. Now this compressor and condenser is what is merged and it is called the outdoor unit, as many of you would have seen, we will be having the split AC condensers kept in the terrace or outside the balcony. This is the component which throws the heat from inside to outside. And then you have this evaporator and the expansion device, which basically sucks the heat inside the conditioned space and gives it outside. So this is called the indoor unit. And you have a refrigerant or a cooling media. It is like a water, that refrigerant, which circulates inside the pipe between the indoor and the outdoor. So this refrigerant is the most important part. This is what absorbs the heat and helps to remove the temperature inside and also throws the heat outside in the outside ambient. So all of you need to understand that this 4 components, this is what you can simply see here, right? So you have the compressor which is working, and from the compressor you have this refrigerant coming inside the indoor unit. You can see that, and then from the indoor unit the heat is taken and then again it is thrown out. So for any type of air conditioners, without these 4 components, the air conditioners cannot function. So this is something which I thought I will brief all of you. Now let's go to the different types of air conditioners. Now the simplest form of air conditioners, what we can see is the window air conditioner. Many of you, I think almost all of you, certainly would have seen what a window air conditioner is. It is a very simplest form of air conditioning system where you have all the 4 components, what we just saw: the compressor, the condenser, the evaporator, and the expansion device. All 4 are put in a box and it is kept in a full one container. That is called a window air conditioner. It is a very simplest form of air conditioner, available from 0.75 to 2 ton capacity, and it is meant for small application. That means this air conditioner, for you need to keep in mind that it is not suitable for large application. You cannot think of office premises or a large conference rooms to be air conditioned with window air conditioner. This is essentially suited for residential application. So any small rooms of 150 to 200 square feet, people looking for a very economical kind of design can opt for window air conditioner. And the advantage of this is, all of you know, it's very easy to install. Just come, fit, and then run. That is the biggest advantage of this window air conditioner. It is very economical. Price wise, it is the cheapest air conditioners available. But you must understand that it will be very, very noisy. So this is a very simplest form of air conditioner. The next category is the split air conditioner, which is very popular. I think all of you may be already using this in your residences. Split. Why do we call this split? Because you split the entire air conditioning components into 2, indoor and the outdoor. Indoor is basically your evaporator and the expansion device. Outdoor is basically the condenser and the compressor. So the outdoor unit throws the heat out, which is extracted from the conditioned space, and the indoor unit is basically cooling your room, bedrooms or halls or any other areas in the residences. The outdoor units are kept either in the balconies or in the terrace. Now again, this air conditioners are available from 0.7 tons to 3 tons capacity, the split air conditioners. Again, split air conditioners, you need to keep in mind that it is meant for small applications. That means any small rooms, residences, or small cabins. These are the type of zones which can be air conditioned with the split air conditioners. Now, many of you may be aware there are many technologies which are now developed in the split air conditioning category. The main compressors which are used in split air conditioners are rotary, but now today we are having split air conditioners which are with inverter technology, which is the very popular version. You can have 20 to 25% power savings due to the inverter split air conditioners. So that is the reason in today's context, there are more and more customers residential buyers who buy inverter split air conditioners. So it's very important for you to know that inverter splits are far better in terms of energy efficiency. Power savings will be 25% more compared to a conventional scroll or a rotary compressor. On an average, if you want to really convert this, you will have roughly close to around 25 to 30%. That is the kind of power saving. So depending on the usage, a customer can calculate what will be the kind of savings. He can end up in saving close to around 7,000 to 8,000 rupees also in a year, depending on the usage. Now, can we air condition the entire office premises with split air conditioners? Is it possible? There are some problems when we use split air conditioners for large applications, because how many indoor units you can have in a office premises, how many pipings you can run, whether you can. In one of the main problems with a split air conditioner is in a normal split air conditioner is fresh air. You cannot inject fresh air. Now, for an office application, when there are many people, you need to importantly inject adequate quantum of fresh air. So what do we do when the office application is large? For example, a showroom which is around 1,000 square feet or 2,000 square feet, or office area which is 5,000 square feet. What do we do? Now the next category is the ductable split air conditioner. This is a very popular solution for medium size application. So as architects, you need to understand, if you have a project which is 5,000 to 10,000 square feet, the ideal choice is ductable split air conditioner. Now, how does it work? It is very similar to a normal split AC, like you have an indoor and the outdoor, but it is of larger size. You have the indoor unit above the false ceiling. You can see that in the picture. Kumareshan, can you just show the indoor unit? Just show the indoor unit. Yeah, you can see that with the cursor. Yeah, that is the indoor unit. What is seen, that is the indoor unit, and outdoor is kept in the terrace. Now, from this indoor unit, you take the ducting, right? You can see on the black color, that is the ducting, and the ducting is taken, and the air, cold air, is drawn through this ducting, and it is distributing the cold air all across the office. Very uniformly, it is able to distribute the air, and hence you are able to maintain uniform temperature throughout the conditioned space. Now, when you have this with normal split air conditioner, it is not possible for you to maintain that kind of uniform temperature, because a split air conditioner can throw maximum cold air up to 5 to 10 feet length. Now, in an office application, the size of the entire office premises can be some 30 feet or 40 feet, and hence you cannot draw or throw adequate kind of fresh air uniformly all across the offices. So when you use this ducted split air conditioner, you can take the air, you can throw it sufficiently and distribute it adequately. Now, another important point what I mentioned to you was the quantum of fresh air. Now, with ducted split air conditioners, you can draw sufficient amount of fresh air and pump inside the conditioned space. So when you do that, then you can maintain the quantum of freshness inside the office premises. So Kumareshan, can you just draw, Kumareshan? Yeah. I think you have to go a little back. Yeah. Yeah, so this is the outdoor unit. Yeah, allow it to run. Yeah, this is the outdoor unit. We have seen that. So as I mentioned to you, with the ducting, it can air can be taken and thrown in various zones. The biggest advantage is you maintain uniform temperature. You distribute the air equally in all the places. Nook and corner of the office premises gets the right cooling, and hence you are able to maintain the same 24 all across. Now, what happens if the area becomes little more bigger? Now, if it becomes a 30,000 square feet, what happens? Because here the indoor unit will be definitely above the false ceiling, and you need to have a trapdoor below. And if the size of the installation is very big, you will have too many indoor units. So for an architect or for an interior designer, you may not like to have lot of trapdoors coming, because it will spoil your interiors, right? So what do we do in such applications? You can opt for the packaged air conditioners, which is called ducted packaged air conditioners. Here you can see the units are mounted in the plant room. Now this unit will look like a almirah, no, right? It will be as floor standing, and there will be a separate plant room, no? So as architects, you need to keep in mind, when you have an application which is 25-30,000 square feet, please ensure that you design with a plant room. That is very important, so that the entire air conditioning systems can be kept inside the plant room. So there is no necessity of any trapdoor, and hence the entire air conditioning can be concealed inside the plant room. Kumaresh, can you just go to that previous one, package part? Yeah. So now here what happens is, from here you can take the ducting and you can throw the entire place. Now just pause it, Kumaresh, pause it. Now this plant room is very useful, because whenever you need any servicing to be done by the HVAC technicians, they come inside the plant room and do the servicing. There is no necessity for anyone to come, open the trap door, spoil your false ceiling, spoil your interiors. All those can be avoided when you opt for a floor mounted packaged air conditioner. And all the total capacity of this units can be kept inside the plant room, and you can take the ducting and you can distribute the air throughout the office premises. Very user friendly, and it is much more efficient compared to ducted split air conditioner. Very important category. Here also you have machines, both ducted split air conditioners and floor mounted packaged air conditioners have machines with inverter technology. Inverter compressors are available, and these machines are 25 to 30% more energy efficient, as I mentioned to you, compared to normal package units or normal split air conditioners. And the power savings to calculate will be anything close to around 2,500 rupees per ton per annum. That means when you buy this inverter technology, the entire cost, additional cost, whatever you have invested, can be recovered in flat 10 months time. In 10 months time, you can completely recover the cost. So it is always advisable as architects to look for the right solution, the right technology. Both are very important. So when you have a small application, you can go for split air conditioner. A slightly larger application, you can go for ducted split air conditioner. Still a larger application, you can go for floor mounted package air conditioner. The technology, again, you can go for a normal scroll compressor, but in today's context, with energy efficiency right at the top of the agenda today, it is important that you go for the latest technology, which is the inverter technology, right? So this is the next form of product what we have, the floor mounted packaged air conditioner. Now, still there can be much bigger application. It can be a mall, or it can be a airport. No, it can be a large things. Now what do we do? The next important product, which is very crucial for HVAC industry, is called variable refrigerant flow system. Now this is the first system in HVAC industry which is very intelligent, which has integrated the mechanical refrigeration with electronics. And the biggest advantage of this particular technology is phenomenal power savings. So let us see how it is. What is this variable refrigerant flow? You have a common outdoor unit like a split air conditioner. You have capacity starting from 7 HP up to 112 HP. It is a very large system. You have various types of indoor units. For the architects or interior designers, it's very, very important because you can choose depending on the type of inside application you can choose. For example, a shop or a showroom or a boutique, can be having an indoor unit of cassettes. Kumaran, you can show that in the screen, cassettes or wall mounts. These are the types of indoor units what is available. If it is a showroom inside the mall, you can go for a floor standing console. Floor standing console. For a small showroom of 3,000, 4,000 square feet, it can be merged along with the interiors. Then if it is a medium size office, you can go for concealed split air conditioners that you can see in the screen. And if it is a cinema theater or if it is a restaurants kind of application in a mall, you can go for floor mounted ducted indoor units. Now the biggest beauty is any type of indoor units you can have in this VRF system, and it can be connected to one common outdoor unit, what you are seeing in the middle. So in a mall, for example, you are designing a mall, you can have a small shop which can be air conditioned with wall mount indoor units. You can have a boutique which can be with cassette units. You can have a showroom which can be with the floor standing console. You can have a small restaurant which can be with concealed splits, and you can have a theater which can be with a floor mounted package machines, and all this can be combined with one common outdoor unit, which is the VRF outdoor unit. Now the biggest beauty is all these indoor units are fitted with we saw normal expansion valves. This is electronic expansion valve. So all these indoor units are fitted with electronic expansion valves. So this is capable of monitoring each and every load inside the premises. As we can see, different types of applications like office application. You can have a wall mount type of indoor units, hotels kind of applications. You can go for a floor mounted type of indoor units. Classrooms can be with cassettes. You can see this is how the entire section of a mall will look like. Different applications, different types of indoor units, and you have a common outdoor unit. And as I mentioned to you, this has the ability, because of the electronic expansion valve, to read the inside load conditions very, very precisely. For example, you can see one indoor unit can operate from 0 to 420 steps. Imagine one indoor unit. Suppose let us imagine you have a 2-tonner indoor unit. The 2-tonner indoor unit can operate from 0 to 420 steps. Imagine. So that means it can operate as 0.01, 0.02 to that extent. Because of the electronic and the electronic systems which is embedded, it can monitor to that level. Now let us assume that you have some 25 or 30 type of indoor units used in a mall. So 30 into 400, imagine the system can operate in 12,000 steps. So this is the most advanced system which can regulate the total capacity, exactly matching the inside load of any office, any malls, or any classrooms or any schools. So that is why VRF is becoming very, very popular. These systems are at least 25% energy efficient compared to any normal ductable split ACs or floor mounted package machines. But of course, this will be slightly expensive, but the customer will reap the benefits with the ROI less than 1.5 years or 18 months time. So VRF is becoming very popular in the current context. As I mentioned, the electronic expansion valve plays a very, very important role in getting the energy efficiency. Now the same systems are today very popular. It's used in hotels, hospitals, malls. Those kind of applications are also now catered with VRF. So this is the next important evolution from the floor mounted packaged air conditioners. We have seen the VRFs. The biggest advantage is it ensures optimum cooling, perfect cooling. What temperature you have set, it will exactly meet, not 1 degree more or 1 degree less. Second is highly energy efficient. As I mentioned to you, it is 25% energy efficient compared to any other conventional systems. And you have wide choice. As architects and interiors, you will be looking for wide choice, and you have the wide choice of indoor units. So you can decide whatever suiting your interiors, you can do that. And high amount of electronics, so you can control the entire air conditioning system of a mall in the touch of your smartphones. So that is the kind of advanced technology this VRF system is all about, right? So we have seen this. So let's move to the next type of system, which is now what happens if the area is even more bigger. No, it can be, let us take, for example, airports, or it can be a large industry. Can we do it? It is very difficult to air condition with the package units, ductable plates, and VRFs. Hence, we have to opt for chilled water systems, which is called central plants. Just pause it, Kumaresh. Yeah, stop. So this chilled water system, you can see in the middle. Can you just show in the cursor, Kumaresh, the chillers? The chiller, these are called the chillers. Now the chillers are available as a scroll chillers, screw chillers, and centrifugal chillers. Scroll is nothing but scroll compressors. Screw chillers are nothing but which is using the screw compressors. And then you, for a large, very very large, kind of application like airports, you have centrifugal compressor powered chillers, which is called centrifugal chillers. So these chillers either will be in the basement or it will be in the terrace. You can see that chillers which are mounted, and then you have the chilled water pumps, right, which is kept near. So this chilled water pumps will pump this chiller. What does it do? It cools the water. So, and this cold water is pumped from the chiller to various floors of the air conditioned places, and through that the cooling is done. So move on, Kumaresh, next one. So you can see that is the chilled water pumps which are kept in the terrace. Now when you are, so from there you will have any kind of areas like in a mall, you may have a restaurant or office. Now from this chillers, you have the chilled water pumps. As you can see, the blue is the cold water. So the cold water is drawn and it is sent to various floors, right? In each floor, you will have a AHU room, which is nothing but the air handling unit room. And from there, you throw the cold air to various places. So now this is a water cooled system. There you can see a cooling tower. Then you have a chiller, and then you have the chilled water pumps. So as architects, as interior designers, you need to always keep in mind when you are designing any mall, when you are designing any kind of system, you need to take care of the plant rooms, spaces which is required. If it is in the basement, you may have to probably consider the spaces required for locating the chillers, for locating the pumps, and also now you can see in each of the floors, when you see, you need to have the AHU room, because you need to position the AHUs and then you draw the cold air from that AHU and distribute to various zones in the conditioned space. So when you design such large projects, my request is, it is important that you take the inputs from any of the HVAC companies, any of the HVAC engineers. They will help you to ensure to take care of the plant room dimensions, plant room spaces, what you need to consider, right? So when you do this in the planning stage itself, it is very important that you design the AHU rooms, you design the plant rooms properly. You need to have the shafts which needs to be designed, which will take care of the chilled water pipings, electrical cablings, conduits. All this needs to be taken. So the shaft sizes, what you design in the building should take care of all this. Other than HVAC part, you will also have electrical cablings running, firefighting, pipings which will be coming. So please ensure to take care of that when you design the buildings. That is very important. So the chilled water systems, what you see, the high side is nothing but the chillers, the cooling towers, and the chilled water pumps. So that is what is called the high side. The AHUs, the ductings, what you see inside the conditioned premises is called the low side. So this is a picture of a very large chillers, what you can see, which is kept inside the plant room. This is a centrifugal chiller. It is some 1500 to 2000 tons capacity. This is the chilled water pumps. So basically this will take the chilled water from the chillers and pump to various air handling units in different parts of the floors or different parts of the buildings. If it is a water cooled system, you need the condenser water. So the condenser water is circulated through the condenser water pumps, what you are seeing there. And this is a typical cooling tower, which you can see, which will be generally kept in the terrace. So this is used for cooling the condensing water. So if it is a water cooled system, but if it is a air cooled system, you will not require the cooling towers. The low side, as I mentioned to you, is something which caters to each of the floors. So from there, you go to each of the AHU rooms in each floor. As you can see, this is the AHU. AHU is nothing but air handling unit. So the chilled water is taken inside the air handling unit, and then air is thrown, and hence you will get the cold air. For a small hotel rooms, you have a small type of AHU which is called fan coil unit or a FCU. So in a 5-star hotels, what you see in each of the room is nothing but a fan coil unit, right? So this is also a part of the chilled water system. There are also chilled water cassette units, which like a VRF systems you have, but you have the chilled water going inside the cassette units. So this is also used in some of the malls and some of the office areas. So this is called chilled water cassettes. Yes, Kumaran, next. So this is a typically a large kind of a chiller applications. Again, the ducting part from the AHUs, you will be taking the ducting to various office premises, hotels, and other things. So this is meant for very, very large applications. These chilled water systems are used. So now we have seen something on the types of air conditioners. When we air condition the premises, as architects, as engineers, it is very important for you to keep in mind the indoor air quality, right? Indoor air quality is very important. What is indoor air quality? Indoor air quality is nothing but the quantum of freshness what you maintain inside the conditioned premises. Because when you air condition a large office where a lot of people are sitting, you have the stale air coming out, right? So the amount of oxygen content will keep coming down. Now, if you circulate the same air again and again without the fresh air, you will get into sick syndrome because people will not get adequate oxygen. Very important for architects to keep in mind the indoor air quality. If you want to maintain the indoor air quality, you need to give adequate quantum of oxygen inside the conditioned premises. Now, if you have to give adequate quantum of oxygen in the conditioned premises, what you need to do? The most important thing is you need to give fresh air provisions, because other than the carbon dioxide which is emitted, there are a lot of other things like pollutions which are coming from the paints, from the varnish, right? And then there are some pollens which are there in the air, right? So what happens, all this will make the air very, very stale, and people inside, if there are no fresh air given, people will become very sick, tired, they will have headaches. All this is because the indoor air quality is very poor. So what you have to do is, as architects and interior designers, you need to ensure that the air conditioning system is designed with adequate fresh air changes. In today's COVID situation, it is important that we design your building with 2 air changes per hour. What is 2 air changes per hour? In 2 hours, the entire air inside the conditioned premises will be changed twice. That is called 2 air changes per hour. So that should be the kind of fresh air what you need to look at. For that, as architects, you need to give adequate fresh air provision in the building. You need to give the wall opening, because many times when we go and discuss with architects and interiors, they don't give the openings, the fresh air provision. That is becoming one of the major challenge for HVAC engineers to maintain the indoor air quality. So it is very important. My request is all of you need to understand the importance of fresh air. And when you design the building itself, if you are able to design with adequate slots for fresh air, then that will be the best thing, because people who are using inside ultimately needs to be healthy. We understand that aesthetics are very important. We are not definitely discounting that. But when you design the building, that time itself, when you think about this openings, what is required, and then merge it as a part of your interiors, as a part of architecture, it becomes very, very easy. So on an average, you can see, we need to certainly provide adequate quantity of fresh air. Otherwise, the building is called a sick building. Today, 1/3 of the total air conditioned place is sick building. You go to many showrooms, you can go to Pondy Bazaar, any showrooms you can go, people will not have fresh air. That's why the moment you enter inside, you will have a stuffy feeling, you have a headache, you have some sneezing coming in. It's all because of this. It is not because of HVAC, it is because of the design. And as ASHRAE has rightly given the guidelines, there are adequate kind of fresh air quantum. You need to at least give 5 CFM per person. This all will be taken care by HVAC engineers. You don't have to worry about it. Or 0.06 CFM per square feet. Now this is done by us. We are not going to definitely disown this. We will take care as HVAC engineers. But you need to, we request you to help us with adequate amount of fresh air openings and provisions in the buildings which you need to take care, right? So this is what we request from your side. Balance, maintaining the indoor air quality is something which certainly we will take care, right? So this is as far as the IAQ is concerned. So we now quickly take you to some of the other important things which we feel as architects, as architects and engineers, you are expected to know. So we will quickly run through that. Kumaresan, just go through that, put the PPT please. Yeah, Kumaresan?
It's just coming.
Yeah, next slide. Yeah, so some of the, when you design, you need to know what are the factors which are contributing the total capacity of the HVAC. See, one might think a 2000 square feet office space will require the same 5 ton everywhere. No. If the 2000 square feet is in Bangalore, it will require one capacity. If the 2000 square feet is in Delhi, the same 2000 square feet will require a higher capacity, which is basically nothing but the ambient load which differs. Outside condition is different. Now within the office itself, if the design of the building is different, it can again contribute. You need to know that. For example, if you are designing the office with lot of glass, certainly the load will be more, right? So the glass load will play a very important part into the entire premises. That is one. Second is the number of people inside will again play a very important role. If the number of people are more, you will have more amount of tonnage which will be required. Then the lighting load will also play an important role. Then whether this building is in the topmost floor, whether it is exposed to the sunlight or not, whether there is a floor below, whether it is in the ground floor or is there a floor below. So all this will decide the total capacity of the system. Now, for example, when you are speccing in, as you become architects, when you are speccing in for some projects, you may have to give some air conditioning solution. So that time when you are going to call a HVAC person, you need to give all this information so that he can design the system properly. For example, where that building is coming, what is the orientation of the building, what is the glass height, what is the lighting load you are designing, how many people are going to be inside, whether there is a floor above, whether there is a floor below, whether it is an exposed roof. So all this information, if you give, the HVAC engineer will be in a position to do a proper heat load and then give you the right kind of solution. So you need to keep this information in your mind. So whenever you are designing a new building, you want to know what is the total HVAC capacity required, and you are going to call a HVAC engineer. You need to give all this information also for them to design a proper HVAC system and give you the right kind of solution. Okay, so keep that in the back of your mind when you design a new project, when you design a new building, right? So this is another important point. I think all of you need to understand that India is a tropical country. The ambient temperature is going up day by day. Today, you can see Chennai temperatures are hovering around 38, 39, 40. And other than the ambient conditions, all of you need to understand there is a phenomena called urban heat effect, because in the cities, there is no space for heat to dissipate outside. So the same heat will radiate within the city itself, within the premises of the tall-rise buildings, and it increases the heat of the spaces which are to be air conditioned. So for example, if the outside ambient of Chennai is, let us say, some 38 or 39, when you go to the terrace and monitor the temperature, it will be some 41 or 42 or even 43 degrees centigrade. This phenomena is called urban heat effect. This is basically arising out of the global warming, right? So all of you should keep in mind that the temperatures are rising due to global warming. Added to that, 2 to 3 degrees is further increased due to urban heat effect in the cities. So this also you have to keep in mind when you design the air conditioning system of the buildings, right? So some of the quick thumb rules we wanted to share it for the benefit of all of you. If you have to design any kind of very quick rough estimation, if you have to do what you are supposed to do, right? So you all know, you need to first of all keep certain basic things in mind. What is the total area which have to be air conditioned? Depending on the budgets of the customers, what kind of air conditioning systems they will prefer, whether it is ducted, whether it is VRF, that you have to keep in mind. Whether technology, whether they will go for fixed capacity, whether they will go for inverter technology. So all these things you need to study and keep in mind before we go. And a very, very quick thumb rule, if you want to do. There are 3 zones, as I mentioned to you, in a hot kind of a climate, and a hot and a humid climate. You can take anywhere around 110 square feet per ton. So if it is 1,000 square feet, 1,000 divided by 110 roughly will give you 9 to 10 tons. But if it is a mild climate zone like Bangalore, like Pune, or Guwahati type of zones, you can go up to 150 square feet per ton. So this is a quick, kind of a thumb rule you can take. And if you multiply this by 30,000 rupees, roughly you will get the price of the air conditioning system if it is a package machines or ductable splits. 45,000 rupees you can multiply if it is a VRF, and 60,000 rupees per ton if it is a chilled water system. So very quickly, this will be the thumb rule of the capacity and the thumb rule of the prices. Of course, this is for the first rough cut idea of yours. And in case you are presenting to a customer, you want to have a more detailed solutions, line drawings, budgetings, you are always free to contact Blue Star. We are ready to certainly help you and guide you. We have a team, separately a planning team, which is meant to take care of these kinds of stuff. Yeah, Kamlesh, next. Slide. And very quick points during the course of execution, what architects you need to take care. Very important is the outdoor, and the outdoor location is very crucial. The outdoor is generally located in the terrace. That is the best place. But in the worst event, if it is not possible to locate in the terrace, you need to certainly help to ensure that the outdoor unit is positioned properly in a proper channel structure, because there will be service person who has to come there, stand and do the servicing. If there is a compressor failure, he has to open the panel, remove the compressor and then replace the compressor, right? So for that you need someone to stand. There has to be access around the outdoor unit if he has to do a proper servicing. So as architects, you need to design the structure and the framework in such a way that the outdoor unit is properly positioned, and also there are adequate space available for the service person to come around and do the servicing, right? So this is very important when you design the framework for the outdoor units of any air conditioning systems. Now when it comes to floor mounted packaged air conditioners, as I mentioned to you, the plant room is very important. As I mentioned to you, when you design the building, when you design the space, keep provision for plant room, because that is very, very important. Now, the second important part is the fresh air. I was talking to you about this fresh air, adequate fresh air. Opening is required to draw the fresh air. If you don't give me opening, for example, what you are seeing now, what Kumaresh is showing, in the pointer, that is the fresh air provision. And if you don't give us this opening, I cannot draw the fresh air from outside, and hence your inside air will become more and more thick, and people will be feeling the stale air. So adequate, if I have to draw 2 air changes per hour, I have to have that kind of wall opening, which will draw the fresh air from the outside ambient and inject in the conditioned space. So please keep in mind, you need to certainly have provisions for fresh air. The third thing is the return air. Now, this is very, very important, because we supply the air, it throws inside the conditioned space, then the return air is sucked back. It will come back to the unit above the false ceiling. Kumaresh, you can show the return air part. Yeah. So now just see that. Now the return air has to come back to the unit. Now, so if you have to come back to the unit, you need to give us the return air space. That return air space is the opening between the plant room and the conditioned space. Now, this return air opening is very important. You need to certainly keep the return air space adequately designed so that the air conditioning system functions properly and functions efficiently, right? So that is the most important part which you have to keep in mind. Fourth important point is the heights, right? The height of the entire thing. Now, the ducting is certainly very important part for any of the air conditioning engineers, and also for the architects and interiors. For both of us, it is very important. For you, you will always try to keep the size of the ducting very small, the size or height of the ducting very small. And for us, we need to design the ducting in the right size to maintain the air distribution. Now, all of you need to keep one thing in mind, which is called the aspect ratio. Aspect ratio of the ducting. That means the width of the ducting and the height of the ducting at max can be 1:4. It cannot be beyond that. Suppose if the width of the ducting is 10 inches, then the height of the ducting can be some 2.5 inches. That's all. So if you are asking me to make the duct size smaller and smaller, it may be very much impossible for us to accommodate, because let us say you are saying minimize the size of the ducting to some 3 inches and increase the width to 18 inches. It is not possible, because I have to maintain an aspect ratio of 1:4. If I don't maintain that aspect ratio, then the air distribution will become a problem, because the friction of the ducting and the air will become more, and the air in the tail end. Kumaresh, can you just show the tail end, towards the end, the tail end of the ducting, the air will not reach. Now, when that air is not reaching, people in the farthest end of the place will not get cooling. So some places when you go, some offices when you go, you will see some zones with hot spots, some zones with cold spots. The reason is the duct design is not done properly. Why the duct design is not done properly? Because there will be pressure to maintain a higher false ceiling heights, and because of that the aspect ratios are compromised. 1:4 is not maintained, and hence you have this problem. So when you design the false ceiling heights, my request is please take care of the height of the ducting also into account. So this is a very important tip which I would request all of you to keep in mind. Right. So yeah, Kumaresh, next one we can see. So this is a typical same is the case with the ducted split air conditioners. So the another point in the case of ducted split air conditioner is you need to certainly maintain the design for trapdoor, because whenever you have a ductable splits, you need to have. Kumaresh, can you just show that the trapdoor has to be designed, because you need to have the access for servicing tomorrow. So you'll open the trap door, you need to remove the filters, clean the filters. So for that, you need to have a trap door. So this has to be taken care, right? So the trap door design is very important in case you are going for a ductable split air conditioner. Yes, Kumaresh, next. So the next important subject which all of you need to keep in mind is the star labeling, because energy efficiency is very important today. Power consumption is very important. So but then it becomes little complicated and technical when you talk about energy efficiency, COP, IPLVs of the world. So the government of India felt that it is very important for us to simplify for the general public about the energy efficiency, and hence they had introduced the star labeling program. So Kumaresh, can you go to the slideshow mode? Kumaresh? Yeah, so the star labeling program is essentially to categorize the air conditioners into various zones based on the efficiency and the COPs, which is called EER. But then, as I mentioned to you, it is very important to see the energy efficiency in the context of Indian conditions, right? So that is why this is brought ISEER, Indian Seasonal Energy Efficiency Ratio. So the energy efficiencies are calculated based on this guidelines stipulated by the government of India, right? So Kumaresh, just go. So based on this, the star labeling programs are done, and the air conditioners are categorized from 1 star to 5 star, right? So for a split air conditioner, you can see for a 5 star, you need to have a ICR of 4.5. And for a 1 star, it is 3.1. So you can just imagine, see, your 5 star is 50% more efficient compared to 1 star, because from 3 to 4.5, almost 50% power saving. That is the kind of benefit what you get. Same way it is categorized for window air conditioners also. So any purchase, any design, it is always, I would request you to design with the highest star labeled product, so that it is beneficial for the customer. You conserve energy, you conserve power, and also it is beneficial as a nation also as a whole. So this is as far as the star labeling programs are concerned. So this is how it will look like the star labeling by the government. If it is 5 star, you can see there. It will also be mentioned as the IC values that will be mentioned, and every star labeling has a period and it will keep changing. So the current star labeling program, this efficiency levels are valid up to 31st December 2020. So initially, Government of India started with split air conditioners and window air conditioners. Now slowly, this star labeling program has also come to chillers. You have now chillers also labeled from 1 star to 3 star, And we have various products which are meeting the different buckets of 3-star, 4-star, and 5-star. Right. So this is another aspect what as architects and interiors you have to keep in mind. And the next important, very important subject is green buildings, because as architects you will be certainly coming up with the greenfield projects, customers requesting you to come and design a green building kind of a projects. Now, why it is so critical, air conditioning is so critical, because green building is not only about air conditioner. There are various things, including the building materials, how you use water, how you conserve, everything is important. But air conditioning is the single most important part in the green building, because 40% of the total power consumption in any building, 40% is due to HVAC. So it is very important to optimize the right kind of HVAC system if you need to have a green building project. So let us see what you need to do in case you have to go in for a green building solution. As I mentioned to you, you have to take care of two important things. You have to optimize the energy consumption. That means, as I told you in the previous module, you have to go for the highest star labeling product, a 5-star product, or a product which has the maximum energy efficiency. Second is the product what you use should be an eco-friendly refrigerant. That means the refrigerant which should be of a very minimal global warming, a very minimal ozone depletion potential, kind of products. So now the popular eco-friendly refrigerants are R410. You can make a note, R410. That is used for most of the ductable solutions like package machines or ceiling suspended ductable splits or VRFs. And if it is chillers, it is R134A. These are the two popular refrigerants which are eco-friendly refrigerants. And when you design a green building, it is important for you to keep that in mind, right? So when you buy a product, as I mentioned to you, these are the guidelines, which you have to keep in mind. It should be less ozone depletion potential, minimum global warming, and no chlorofluorocarbons, waste. That is why I said eco-friendly refrigerant, which I mentioned to you, R410 and R134A, right? These are the two popular refrigerants you can definitely choose. Now, last module I'm coming before we conclude this session, air conditioning and COVID. So COVID is one of the dreaded pandemic which is gripping the world with a lot of fear, and it is important that we protect ourselves and also see how to handle this pandemic with lot of thinking in future. So what is the connection between AC and COVID? Let us see that, right? First of all, I think what is COVID? I think most of you may know. This is a very deadly virus called COVID-19, which causes the respiratory tract infections. So that is the main issue with this virus. The virus is very small, very, very small, 80 to 160 nanometers. The virus may be or may not be airborne. We are not very, very sure about this. And the droplets of this, it is essentially transmitted from humans to humans. And when you cough or when you sneeze, this droplets of this virus gets transmitted. And on an average, it gets 1 to 2 meters kind of a distance. It can travel. Very important in a low humid conditions, less than 40, this droplets further disintegrates into minor pieces, and it can stay airborne for a very, very long time, right? So this is how this entire virus is causing the damage, causing the spread, and it is causing a lot of things, right? So now how this infection spreads, a very quick look, right? Absolutely very crucial. First of all, it can impact people who are less immune. That means less of vitamin D, right? And the temperature and the RH. When the RH is extremely high or when the RH is extremely low, Now, when a person coughs, when a person sneezes, right? If they are within the distance of 1 to 2 meters, it becomes easier for them to, transmit very easily. And at the same time, if they are not also close by, but if the RH is less, this droplets disintegrates. It will remain airborne for many hours, and it can transmit to the subsequent people, right? So that is the biggest risk what we have with this COVID, right? Yeah, next. So now, how this virus behaves based on the research done by the various scientists. These data are taken from some of the scientific papers published by London Institute of Virology, right? And you can see there are 3 zones of relative humidity. Kumaresan, just show that column, the indoor relative humidity column. You can see that 60 to 100. 40 to 6, these are the zones of relative humidity. Now you can see when the relative humidity is high, 60 to 100, the stability of the virus is very high. Now when the humidity is low, 10 to 40, again the stability of the virus is high. Now second is, what is the proportion of the droplet nuclei? Now that means when it disintegrates, when the RH is low, 10 to 40%, you can see it is again high. Then the validity or the real impact of this virus is very high when it is having a very low RH and very high RH. Now, in this 40 to 60%, you see all categories are low. And you now recollect, I was telling you what is air conditioning. Air conditioning is a simultaneous process of maintaining temperature, humidity, RH, right? That humidity maintained is what we said, 40 to 60%. So when you maintain the humidity, right, between 40 to 60, the chances of virus becoming active is very less. So when you are in an air-conditioned premises, the activity of the virus can be minimized. So this is the first big advantage when you use air conditioning during the pandemic situation. Now, second, let us see what are the other things as a human beings. What is the health of the human being, how it is. Now, you can see the epithelial cell layer, right, which is in the respiratory part. Now, you can see when you maintain a proper humidity, right? Now this entire flow of air, what happens, it can track all the infections when you maintain a RH of 60%, 40, 50%, 60%, right? But on contrary, when it is dry, right, the epithelial cell layer shrinks. You can see the size of the epithelial cell layer dropping from normal position to a shrinked position. Now, when this happens, your entire infection can flow into your system easily. That is, it will get into from the respiratory tract to your lungs and other things very easily, and that's how people get very quickly infected. So there are 2 benefits. One is that the virus itself is not active when you are maintaining the RH. Second is when you are maintaining the RH, your own body, your own respiratory tract, epithelial cell layers are in much better position to track the infections than when you are in a non-air conditioned zone. So this is the second kind of a premises. So but yes, unlike normal air conditioning, we need to keep certain precautions in mind. So next slide, Kumaresan, next slide. Yeah, so this is the criticality of RH. So when you maintain the 60, 40 to 70% RH, certainly it helps in avoiding the propagation of COVID-19. So that is important takeaway, which I would request all of you to keep in mind. Okay. Yeah. Next. Yeah. So the certain other things what we need to keep in mind is that you need to maintain a temperature which is slightly higher. So you can maintain around 26 degrees centigrade. You also need to ensure that adequate fresh air is maintained. That means instead of 2 air changes, you can increase it to 2 to 3 air changes. That is possible so that you draw in more amount of fresh air maintain RH, maintain a temperature of 26 degrees centigrade, and certainly it increases the human resistance to infections in this conditions. Yeah, next slide, cooperation. So on conclusion, certainly we believe that by maintaining a proper kind of air conditioning design and system, it will help you to minimize the airborne concentration of COVID, and hence it reduces the risk of transmission. So this is about air conditioning and COVID. So with this, I come to the end of my presentation. So maybe another 5 to 10 minutes time, we will try to take some of the questions, what we can answer, and then we will wind off the session. And I wish to thank once again the management of Meenakshi College for giving us the opportunity to make this presentation. Thank you and take care.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Am I audible?
Yes, Santosh.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. It was extremely interesting learning experience for all of us to understand the basics of air conditioning. And because as architects and as students, certainly we do design spaces which require quite a bit of services attached to it. And what happens most of the time is as students of third year and final year or the fourth year level, they do design spaces in such a way that, okay, keeping in mind, taking it for granted that these spaces are going to be air conditioned, and without knowing the basics of it. So certainly this was an extremely important exercise for all of us to understand what are the basic things to be kept in mind before designing spaces like these. Because at third year level and the final year level, they do design large spaces, convention centers, cultural hubs, auditoriums, sometimes hospitals as well. So
Yes.
these spaces are all considered to be IT parks as well. So these places are considered to be air conditioned and with minimum knowledge of the basics. So I'm certainly I'm sure that this is going to be quite helpful. Following on, there are quite a few questions regarding a few important points, mostly related to AHUs and how to calculate. So we have a question similarly from architect Priyadarshini, Maithili Madhusudan, and also from Jayashri, all on similar lines. The question goes around, is there any specific way of calculating the number of AHU rooms for each floor, and what should be the area of each AHU? That's one question. Following on, similar question is...
AHU sizes, I will just answer. AHU sizes will depend on the capacity of the AHUs, right? So we do not know what is the size of the rooms which they are planning to air condition, and generally it is not very easy to decide the size of the AHU room unless you know the capacity of the AHU, right? So what is the CFM, what is the air quantity of the AHU room? But on an average, I can tell you, if you are looking for a size of 10,000 kind of a CFM, because AHUs are basically on the air quantity. So that's why it may be little more technical. If you, that is why it becomes little complex to understand. But if it is a package machines, that will be much more simpler. Floor-mounted packaged air conditioners. If you are looking for a 22-ton package machines, a 22-ton package machines can take care of roughly what you can take around some 2,000 square feet area. A 22-ton kind of package machines, you need a size of 6 feet by 5 feet. That will be the size of the room.
Okay. So there's no specific formula to calculate a typical size of an AHU.
No,
it depends on the context.
There is no formula. It is basically the AHU size, and you need to have certain space around the AHU for servicing, because you need to remove the filters, you need to service the coil, so you need to have some amount of space around the AHUs to do the servicing. So it is more specific to the type of AHUs what you use. It can be a floor mounted AHU, it can be a ceiling mounted AHU. There are various types of AHUs, and the sizes and the clearances will vary based on type of AHUs and what capacity of AHUs we have. So it is not a simple question, it is a little complex.
Yeah.
So there is no real thumb rule to calculate straight away, no, the AHU sizes.
Okay. But there's a basic requirement of a specific room where you have enough space for people to move around and move around the unit and clean it and
So that's
maintain it.
why I told you, see, for example, the basic thumb rule, as I told you, you can take 30 square feet for a
Okay.
2000 square feet, kind of a area which has to be air conditioned. So that can be the thumb rule.
Okay. And do you
Suppose
multiply
you have
this
a 10,000 square
proportionately?
feet, you decide somewhere around 120 square feet kind of a space for H rooms.
So it proportionately keeps increasing as the size of the room
Correct.
increases.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. There's a similar question again, and there's one more question from architect Priyadarshini. So are centralized air conditioners similar to ducted package air conditioners? What are the basic differences?
Yeah,
Are
so
they similar?
centralized and packaged air conditioners are almost similar, but
Okay.
chilled water systems are much larger. See, your packaged air conditioners maximum size is 22 tons.
Okay.
So with that it stops, and then you can put multiples of package machines, and then you can cater to some 10,000 square feet area or a 15,000 square feet area. But when you go for a chilled water systems, it can be 4,000 tons. That means you can imagine one Chennai airport getting air conditioned, with a
Yeah.
chiller. So for such large applications, we go for chiller. And from the chiller, you have small AHUs, which will distribute air in different zones. So that is the difference. It is almost same only, but it is in the larger context, chilled water systems.
Okay. And you also mentioned during your presentation that you require 1 tonnage of air conditioning for specific around 100 to 150 square feet of space. Is that specific to residential projects or is it for all kinds of
No, no,
spaces,
no.
office,
It
airports?
is common mostly for all. No climatic conditions. Based on that, I have given you 3 thumb rules. So
Okay.
if it is a moderate temperature, 150 square feet per ton. If it is
Okay.
hot and humid, it will be 100 to 110 square feet per ton.
So, for instance, one chiller plant would be around 4,000 tons, so it can cover up to around 4 lakh to 5 lakh square feet of space.
That's right.
Okay, perfect. So, there's one more question which says, are there any RTU suggested for which type of buildings? What are its pros and cons?
Sorry,
How RTU is suggested for which type of buildings? What are its pros and cons? How different
what
is
is
it?
RTU?
I'm not sure. I think it just says RTU, so I'm not sure
I
about it
have no
as
clue.
well.
What is RTU?
Maybe it's an error in terms of spelling. So we'll just skip that. There's one more question from my side. Like I have a specific question regarding what is the maximum range between an indoor and outdoor unit. Like for instance, we do understand there's an indoor unit and then there's an outdoor unit for split air conditioners. We do know that as an energy loss when you keep increasing the range between the units. So what is the range that you feel is
So
ideal and
for a ductable split air conditioners and floor mounted packaged air conditioners, you can go up to a length of 20 meters piping.
20 meters is
Yeah.
ideal and it's maximum?
Ideal. Beyond 20 meters, there will be drop in the efficiency of the system. And if it is a VRF, especially if it is a tall buildings, multiple floors, I was
Yeah.
showing you a product called VRF, variable
Yes.
refrigerant flow systems. Now those machines can take long length of piping, very, very long length of piping. It can even take a kilometer of piping, yeah, 1 kilometer of piping. So large malls, large tall rise buildings, residential tall rise apartment complexes can be easily air conditioned with VRFs. The third one is chilled water system. Chilled water system have the advantage because chillers are pumping in chilled water. No, it is not refrigerant. So you can take any length of piping when you go for chilled water systems or central plants. So these are the 3, products and the limitations.
Also, following on the similar point of VRF, you did mention that you have one specific outdoor unit attached to multiple indoor units. It could be a split, it could be
Correct.
a floor mounted, it could be anything. So, how do you differentiate the consumption of electricity between these units? If, instance, you're in a mall, you have specific offices, specific.
Very, very good question. I think very interesting question. So the beauty is this VRF system is built on electronics. That is the biggest advantage. Now you have a software called tenant billing software. Now this tenant billing software will calculate the I will go a little technical, but see, this calculates the movement of the electronic expansion valves in each of the areas, the refrigerant flow, and this will simulate with the total power consumption of the outdoor unit, and it will exactly give the power consumption of each and every user. So, so for a builder, when he sits in front of his laptop, he can see the power consumption of each and every user. No, and this software also has a program where you can load the power charges on a month. It will tabulate and give you the power bill of each of the users, and it will also mail on that specific date to each of the users. To that extent, the software is updated. So there is absolutely no problem. You have a software which will calculate the power consumption of each and every user.
Perfect. Also, on similar lines of VRF, because it follows large buildings, what will be the size of the outdoor unit as such? Because we assume it's going to be quite a large outdoor unit.
Size is not very large. It's very compact. So on an average, if you see 28 HP, 28 HP outdoor unit, it will be 5 feet by 3 feet. That's all.
For 28
HP, you can say 25 tons.
25 tons. Okay. Okay. So we have a clarification.
We have a clarification. And all this will be kept in the terrace.
Okay. Perfect. So we have a clarification from Shivakumar following on his question of difference between RTU and RTU is saying it's rooftop units is suggested for which type of buildings? What are its pros and cons?
Rooftop is not a popular unit in India. It is basically used in Middle East. Rooftop is nothing but a higher capacity of window air conditioner, right? So you have all the components put in one box, and it is kept in the terrace. And from the terrace, you take the duct, come inside, and then throw into the conditioned space. That is called rooftop units. Generally, rooftop units are not very popular in India. This is meant for applications where you don't want anyone to enter inside the conditioned space. Let us say you have a space, air conditioned space. You don't want any of the AC technicians to come inside at all, right? Then you can go for a rooftop units. But in India, it is not very popular. It is very popular in Middle East.
I'm sorry. Just a minute, sir. Yeah, I think we have a couple of more questions. I think we have another 5 minutes. So if we can go on, because we already are overshot our time. But anyways, we'll go for a couple of more questions. So why are central air conditioning not preferred in airports or malls during this corona outbreak, even if it is maintaining the RH relative humidity? So why are they not?
No, so I clarified that it is a wrong myth. What is being spread, and that is why I clarified to you that it is not true. When you don't have air conditioning and when you go for ventilation, the chances of spread is even more higher. See, I wanted to clarify very clearly, air conditioning and COVID has no connection, first of all. Because air conditioning doesn't generate anything called COVID, or it doesn't circulate anything called COVID, right? Even if you put a fan, the fan also can transmit. It is not something which air conditioners transmit. But when you use the air conditioner, when there is a better control on RH, the chances of controlling that pandemic is very high. And second is, you also now have the options of UV fitted lamps in the indoor units, right? There are some HEPA filters, grade MERV 17, which can be used. These can even kill COVID-19. So certainly, I think it is not the right fact that air conditioners are spreading COVID. I think it is important to clarify that it can help to regulate and control the pandemic.
Okay, I think that's a myth that's been going around due to WhatsApp messages, I guess. But
true.
Yeah, but relatively moving on, sir. We have another question which says from Maithili ma'am again. Like, are there any thumb rules for design norms for designing high-story residential buildings in terms of the sizing of the AHUs, location of AHUs, AC plants in multi-story buildings,
No, the
residential
thumb
projects
rule
and
I
so?
have already given, right? So 150 square feet, per ton. So that will give you the total sizes.
Yeah.
Residences don't use AHUs. Residences are predominantly, they will be using high wall mount units or cassette type of indoor units.
Okay. Okay. Again, we have one question from architect Satish Kumar. What is the AC design methodology for covered atrium spaces, and how efficiently it can be air conditioned, such large atrium?
I didn't get you. Sorry, covered?
Atrium spaces like lobby spaces or large open spaces,
Large.
large span of spaces.
Okay.
How
What?
efficiently can so
How?
if it how efficiently can it be air conditioned? Like, what system would you suggest for the?
See, atrium for us, air conditioning space is common, whether it is office, whether it is atrium. No, it all depends on what is the size of the atrium, what is the height of the atrium, and based on that, we suggest the right kind of system. So, if it is a small atrium and lower heights, then you can go for floor-mounted packaged air conditioners. But if it is a large atrium, for example, like airports or malls, then it is better to go for AHUs, and you need to go for certain type of diffusers called jet diffusers, which will throw the air from such large heights to bottom of the places. So if it is a small atrium, we would recommend to go for package machines. If it is a large atrium, chill water systems with AHUs will be the right solution.
Okay. I guess we have covered most of the questions. So other questions are similar on AHUs and the sizes and the number of AHU rooms in a building, because that is one thing that we concentrate in architectural practice
Yeah,
as well. Like, every floor you give a specific room size, specific rooms for services. So people don't know really about what is the scale of it or the size. I think 30 square feet is what you said for 2000
correct, correct.
2000 square feet. So which makes a lot of sense for us to design as well. I think we are coming to the end of the session, sir. And I would like to thank you personally and on behalf of the Institute as well for accepting our offer and accepting our invitation to come here and present to the students. It's quite a learning experience. I don't know about the students, but for me personally, it's been quite a eye-opener in terms of understanding the basics of it as an architect as well. So I'll thank you for your passionate presentation, sir. And on behalf of the management, I'd like to thank all the participants as well who tuned in and who have tried to understand something new in these difficult times. So I thank you for that. I also thank uh, the webinar team, Pavitra ma'am, Gautam sir, Jalaja ma'am, the HOD, Mr. Stanley Daniel as well, and all the entire family at MC. And there's a feedback form which is on their links on their chat messages. So anyone wants to give a feedback on the session could all go and fill in those forms, and your e-certificates will be distributed as soon as we fill those forms as well. And looking forward to tomorrow's session as well. Tomorrow's session is at 11 o'clock. It's a session by architect Sarfaraz, a session on urban design and its implications in smart cities today. So looking forward to all of you to be present tomorrow as well. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And we'll
So
surely get back to you.
thank you. I think on behalf of Blue Star Management, I wish to certainly thank Meenakshi College of Engineering for giving us the opportunity to interact with your students. And I'm sure this session would have been useful to all of you. And certainly we do like to be part of your college for any future kind of assignments like this, where you wish to want us to come and have a session on HVAC. Certainly we will be more than happy to certainly be part of it. And thank you once again from Blue Star for inviting. I also wish to thank my team, Vinay, marketing, Kumareshan from training, Amar, All India Sales Head, and RS Priya, who coordinated this for the entire thing, for making this happen. And thanks, Nitesh, and wishing you all the very best. Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir. Thank you to the entire team as well, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Take care.
Thank you. Stay safe.